The Gaza campaign of 2023 to 2024 was marked by a ground advance of unprecedented length and intensity. Following the October 7th attack, a large-scale air campaign preceded a ground incursion that commenced on October 27th. This operation evolved into one of the longest urban wars in recent memory, as armored columns and infantry units pushed deep into densely populated neighborhoods, facing a landscape of fortified positions and subterranean bunkers. The campaign unfolded in distinct phases, each defined by fierce combat and the systematic dismantling of urban terrain. Merkava tanks spearheaded the initial advance from the northern border, their powerful engines echoing through the skeletal remains of Gaza City's streets. The advance was not unopposed. Suddenly, an Alayasin 105 rocket streaked through the air, detonating beside an armored vehicle and sending a column of thick black smoke spiraling high into the sky. From the hollowed-out windows of high-rise buildings, hidden fighters initiated sniper fire, their shots cracking through the din of battle. Grenades arced downwards, aimed at the advancing convoy below. The narrow, rubble-strewn streets severely restricted the tank's ability to maneuver, turning every intersection into a potential kill zone. Above, air support was a constant presence. The sky was rarely quiet, as precision bombs were dropped on suspected targets, their detonations shaking the very ground and sending tremors through the ruined city. From November through December of 2023, the focus of the ground operation was North Gaza, where infantry from the Golani and Givatay brigades conducted a methodical block-by-block sweep. The fighting in the districts of Jobla and Shujia was particularly ferocious. Infantry units, moving in small, coordinated formations, relied heavily on drones to scout ahead and locate hidden bunkers and defensive positions. The defenders responded with a brutal efficiency born of familiarity with the terrain. Close-range ambushes were frequent, with fighters emerging from concealed locations to engage the advancing troops. Entire buildings were booby-trapped. Unsuspecting units would trigger explosive devices that brought concrete and steel crashing down upon them. The staccato bursts of machine gun fire echoed relentlessly through dark corridors and shattered alleyways. To overcome these obstacles, armored D9 bulldozers were brought forward, their massive blades leveling structures and clearing debris to forge paths for the armored columns that followed. As the new year began, the campaign's center of gravity shifted southward to the city of Khan Younis. In early 2024, Israeli tanks established a perimeter, effectively encircling the city before infantry units began their deep advance toward its center. Ambushes became a daily reality for the attacking forces. In one instance, a convoy of armored vehicles was targeted with rocket-propelled grenades, leaving several vehicles ablaze, their burning hulls spewing thick, choking smoke that obscured the battlefield. In another, an infantry unit entering a multi-story building was caught in a massive explosive trap, the blast collapsing entire floors. Attack helicopters flew low overhead, their rotors beating a rhythmic pulse against the sound of gunfire, as they provided close fire support to the troops on the ground. The defenders made extensive use of their network of subterranean bunkers, moving unseen beneath the city's surface. They would emerge to fire on Israeli positions before disappearing back into the earth, their hit-and-run tactics designed to inflict casualties and slow the advance. By May of 2024, the campaign expanded once more, this time to Raif, the southernmost city on the border with Egypt. The advance began from the east, tank formations seizing control of the strategic Philadelphia corridor that runs along the border. To facilitate their movement and deny defenders cover, engineers systematically leveled entire blocks of buildings, creating wide-open corridors through the dense urban landscape. The Tel al-Sultan neighborhood became the scene of prolonged and intense close-quarters fighting. Airstrikes pounded the area, with massive explosions indicating the destruction of ammunition depots. The sound of metal clashing against concrete became a constant soundtrack to the battle as bulldozers and tanks cleared paths. Infantry followed, sweeping through the ravaged neighborhoods, their mission to locate and destroy the remaining bunkers and weapons caches hidden within the ruins. Throughout 2024, the fighting was not a simple linear progression. Phases of re-advancement became necessary in areas like Jabuya and Khan Younis, where persistent resistance cells had regrouped and re-established their presence after the initial Israeli sweeps. Nighttime raids became a common tactic, with specialized units led by drones and sniffer dogs moving under the cover of darkness to target specific individuals and locations. The defending forces responded with localized counterattacks, employing improvised explosive devices and well-planned ambushes in an ongoing effort to inflict casualties and disrupt the occupying forces' control. This cycle of clearing and re-clearing demonstrated the tenacity of the resistance and the difficulty of securing permanent control over the urban terrain. By the end of 2024, after more than a year of relentless combat, Israeli forces asserted that they had established control over most key areas within the Gaza Strip. The operation resulted in the destruction of numerous military infrastructures and a significant degradation of the local battalion's command and control capabilities. Following this phase of high-intensity conflict, Israeli units began a gradual withdrawal from some urban centers, shifting their posture from large-scale occupation to more precise, intelligence-driven operations aimed at preventing the re-emergence of organized resistance. The main ground campaign had concluded, but the conflict had entered a new, more targeted phase. The human cost of the campaign was severe for all involved. The Israeli side recorded the loss of hundreds of soldiers, many of whom fell victim to ambushes in constricted alleyways, RPG attacks on their vehicles, or the devastating effects of booby-trapped buildings. For the defenders, the losses were also significant, with a substantial number of fighters eliminated and their command networks systematically dismantled. The protracted urban war served as a stark demonstration of modern warfare's complexities. The dense terrain, coupled with the extensive use of underground tunnels and the persistent decentralized nature of the resistance, made Gaza a formidable battlefield. The attacking side leveraged its overwhelming superiority in air power, armor, and combat engineering to methodically gain the upper hand. But this was achieved at the cost of a prolonged timeline and a high number of casualties. The defenders, in turn, employed classic urban guerrilla tactics, using their intimate knowledge of the environment to prolong the fighting and exact a heavy price for every meter of ground gained. The physical devastation in Gaza was immense. Much of the territory's infrastructure lay in ruins, with residential neighborhoods, public buildings, and essential services almost completely destroyed. The civilian population was displaced on a massive scale, creating a humanitarian crisis of historic proportions. While Israeli forces achieved their stated operational goal of gaining temporary control and destroying a significant portion of the opposing military facilities, the conflict left behind deep and lasting consequences. The physical and psychological scars on the landscape and its people will endure for generations, and the continued presence of localized resistance cells ensured that the end of the main ground advance did not signify the end of the conflict itself.